Hello everyone, welcome to Existential Gamers Live. I am your host, the Existential Gamer himself, and today I am joined by the famous graphic designer, the amazing, the beautiful, the talented, Jose Veliz. Welcome, sir. How are you?
My God, what an intro! Hey, good to be here.
So we are playing Guacamelee again. Just so you know, everybody I have on for the rest of the week are all Mexicans, because we're all gonna play this Mexican game together. Hell yeah. Because, pride for our country. Unless you're not from Mexico, then I apologize, Jose.
Nah, let them enjoy it. Let them enjoy it.
Actually forgot what I was doing here. But,
I actually had Mexican food today.
Oh yeah?
Yeah,
Oh, what was
I
it?
was
What did you
craving
eat?
it. I had just a taco platter. I had it at this place called Jose's. That's by my house.
Oh yeah?
They're pretty good. They're pretty accurate, you know.
How do you feel about that? Like, cause like my name is Michael, so like, it's such a like a generic name and everything. Like, I'm sure with Jose, you probably hear that name like everywhere. Like how's your like perspective on that? Because like for me, I'm just like every time like I hear another Michael or something like that, my brain just goes like, oh, of course, you know.
It was the worst in Spanish class for sure. There were like 3 other Jose's. And so that was really annoying because people would often like we'd get out of class and be like, "Hey Jose," and I'd turn around, not me, you know.
Yeah.
So that would be really annoying then. Now I'm just like, if I see something like a street or like a business or anything like that, I'm like, "Hey, that's my name." But I have a more positive attitude towards it now.
I mean, that's what you gotta do, right? Because it's like, what is the negative thing gonna do at all besides just make you a little more salty?
Yeah.
It's just like
It's all
with
good.
Michael, I try to embrace the whole like what is it? Who is like God? I'm just like, yes. Ah, just kidding. It's a little prideful, but you know, just try to have a little fun with it. But yeah, I totally get that. Like I remember when I was I don't know if you ever played Castle Crashers, but they have a little reference to it.
That's that's the first thing that came to my mind. I've never actually like beat the game though, but yeah.
Me either. El Hero. I was gonna say, but like even with my last name, I actually found like the history of my last name. It turns out that it comes from the Latin word for snake, like of the snake. So my last name is Anguiano, and the word anguidade is like comes from, it's like the family of snakes in the snake family of biology, and anguis is snake in Latin. And it's also where the word like anguish comes from, anxiety, anger, all that like comes from like the angerere, which means to choke something. And they call snakes anguis because they choke their victims, right? They create a narrow space. And because anxiety comes from the word narrow, like a narrow tightening feeling in your body, right? So I was just like, geez, all this negative thing with my last name, but I was just like, you know what? I tried to embrace the positive side of it. I was just like, you know what? It just means, it shows like that in our name, it, you know, the stress and anxiety is already there, and we can face it. We can get out of it. You know, we can be in those tight positions and, you know, come out fine. You know, it's just like, yeah. To tell that story.
I'm still stuck on the snake part. That's sick.
Right?
Have you tried talking to snakes?
No, I was thinking that too. I was like, I'm totally a Slytherin. Like, oh my gosh, I was actually reading up on that. Like, what are like the traits of a Slytherin, and like even the negative stuff. I was like, yeah, I was kind of like that, but I've been like working out of that kind of stuff too. I thought it was funny. I guess they'll make this enchilada with this old lady here.
You cook in this game?
No, she cooks. You just bring her stuff.
Oh.
Then we gotta go to the desert, the Lucha line. What do you think they do there?
Lucha line.
If you call the Lucha.
I would imagine it's some sort of starting line for like a race. Because I imagine they don't just like, you know, lift weights all day. I don't know, maybe they race each other.
I think it meant like a phone line, like a Lucha line, like call the Lucha line, like. I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know what that would be though. Just like hire like a freaking guy to go beat up your like a bully or something like that.
Yeah. Maybe you lose something. Somebody stole something from you and they help you get it back. That's pretty cool because they're like heroes, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, like Mexican culture, they're highly what's the word? They're so looked upon.
Up to?
Yeah, looked up to. Jeez, I don't know why I can't think of the word. They're revered in a sense. Revered.
I don't know. This
KO.
fire guy's got me in a trance right now. I don't know.
Oh, I know the way he's like doing that.
Yeah.
Let me read the chat really quick because I haven't been saying anything, but I'm sure you can see the chat a little bit too. D1, what's up? KO, let's go. Awesome Shark. Michael as a god. That explains a lot. Wow. Okay, thanks. I know. I kind of look like Zeus right now, anyway. So. D1, yeah, he found a 6-shooter gun in his. Okay, you're doing music again. Can you hear me, Snake? Snake? Oh my god, with your Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of people doing references in the chat and stuff, so it's all fun. But anyways,
get to play that game.
What, Metal Gear Solid?
Yeah, I think I tried playing the first one, and the tank controls were like, I'm so used to not using anything remotely close to that, so that really threw me off.
I think it would be great to play on the channel because it does have a lot of like philosophy stuff I would love to kind of get into. I'm not too sure yet though, because the way the format I'm going with the channel now, it's like I don't know if we'll be even paying attention to the game. Like right now, I will have to pay attention to this character here. I think they just call him Flamehead, but like he's pretty much was like a ghost from a long time ago. He's like a spirit from a long time ago. And he was cursed by the devil with a flame on his head because he liked to burn all his victims. Like he was a murderer.
Dang.
Yeah. See, right now he says that. Well, if you
They're
must know,
not kidding around.
Yeah, I was cursed by the devil to have my head internally engulfed in flame. I thought burning people alive in my last life would curry his favor in death. But apparently he has a complex about being the one to dole out the suffering. Or at least had a complex until Kalaka, which is the main villain of the game, terminated that turkey. Yeah. Kalaka is just skeleton, right?
I don't think I've ever heard that word in Spanish.
Kalaka? Really? I could have sworn
Yeah,
it's either that or skull. What's a skull in Spanish?
Caveira.
Caveira? Okay.
It's close. It might be, what's it called? Because you know how there's like different, what's it called? Dialects? Is that the word? Like different ways of people speaking Spanish, right? And even within Mexico, like North speaks Spanish slightly differently than South, etc. So that it might be something like that, or maybe something related to indigenous, like the indigenous language.
I know Awesome Shark speaks Spanish, but he said Calaca is also skull. I guess there's another word for skull.
Yeah, again, it's the way some different people speak.
The main villain's named Skull, then. That was the name of my comic book character that I had designed a long time ago. He gave us.
That is a cool name.
It's pretty edgy, though. Anyways, I have questions for you. I'm sure you've been waiting for that.
Yeah,
got a little distracted.
I'm doing great. Yeah, no, this is fun.
No, I just I have a couple simple ones. Simply like how have you been? What have you been up to? What's new in your life?
Ooh. Well, I quit my job last year.
Okay.
And I went to school for 3 months. Finished that. It was like a short course thing. And then I basically did freelance up until now. Or at least up until earlier this year. I mean, I'm still doing it. But I've been doing, what's it called? UX design instead of graphic design. It's similar in terms of like some of the programs I work with. But a lot of like the research and what's it called, strategy and stuff like that. The things I have to think about are completely different. And yeah, I've been just looking for work, putting my in applications, doing interviews, all that jazz. Redid my portfolio. Yeah, redid my portfolio like 5 times.
Jeez. Yeah, for everybody, he also went to school with me. So like, if you noticed, this week has been a week full of people that I got from my old school days, a lot of good people there, and I'm glad I'm still keeping in touch with them. But I'm glad you're doing good, man. Like, just keeping it up, continue working. You gotta keep yourself busy, and you gotta keep yourself towards those goals. And I think that's something I've looked up to a lot, is that you're always just pursuing your goals. And I appreciate, I appreciate doing that. You doing that for yourself, but also doing that, and I'm sure you probably don't notice it, but you inspire other people. I mean, you inspire me for sure. I always looked up to the way you're kind of passionate about everything. Your energy. I love your energy, dude. That's one big thing, especially.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, I definitely miss hanging out with you, and you know, it's been obviously hard this last year because
of course,
the pandemic and everything.
That was actually my next question too, which is funny. How's it been in the past few years? Was the pandemic rough?
You know, have you seen Bo Burnham's special on Netflix that he just put out?
No, I heard about that. I want to go see. I want to see it.
Yeah, a good chunk of that is literally how I feel, how I felt anyway the last year.
Oh wow, okay, I gotta check it
I
out.
even, when I was at what's it called, this boba place in downtown where I live, they had these tile coasters, and they were like it was from a Mexican artist, so all of the tiles were like little skeleton people, like Halloween, like Dia de los Muertos. Yeah, and one of them had me dying because I was like, this is literally me. It's a skeleton in front of like 3 different monitors and like a laptop and stuff with like headphones on. I'm like, this has been me for the last like 6 months or whatever at that time. It was like my embodiment or whatever. Like this is literally me. No sun, no exposure to anything else. Just sitting at my computer, either studying or working on stuff or looking for jobs.
Jeez. And
with the blinds closed.
But did you enjoy doing that? Like why it sounded like there's like a bittersweet kind of thing to that. Like you're like, well, I was focusing on my work, but at the same time, like I kind of wish I did a little bit more and stuff like that.
Yeah,
is that how you feel?
Because I didn't have enough time to do anything else. I mean, it was 3 months, but it was 3 months of literally like it didn't really feel like 9 to 5. It felt like 9 to 10 kind of thing. And I don't mean 10 a.m. And it was because it was a short program. It was very intensive. Like you were working on stuff like all the time. The whole time I was thinking nothing about like except projects, studying, looking up stuff, doing research, talking to people if I had to, etc. It was non-stop doing that for 3 months. So then after that, I was kind of like chilled out for, I'd say like 3 months. I was chilling because my what's it called? You know how in school sometimes they'll have us work with, or at least AI I think did this for some programs where they actually got to work with a real client, not paid of course, it was pro bono. But I did something similar to that at this school, and they were really psyched about what we did for them. So afterwards, I was just like, hey, if you need any like extra work or blah blah blah, I'd be more than happy to like, have that conversation or whatever. So I was doing that for a while. And I was chilling because I was like, dude, I get to like sit here, work remote basically, and not going anywhere. I wasn't getting paid a whole lot, but it was cool. But then after a while,
yeah, I was just saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I got so tired of video games. I haven't played Skyrim in months, and I loved that game. I restarted saves so many times in that game. I had so many hours on it. It's ridiculous. I needed to play something else, but.
Can I say something on that fact? That's what kind of like streaming has done now. Like I literally like only play games during my stream time. Like I'll just play the 2 hours, and then like the rest of the time I'm usually exercising. I'm reading something, I'm writing something, I'm doing other stuff like outside of video games. And at first I was kind of like, man, I really don't like that. I really enjoyed playing video games, on my own free time, and it feels like work now. But now I've kind of gotten used to it. I'm like, you know what? I actually don't mind doing the 2 hours streaming, because I still get to play those video games like I always liked. But at the same time, it feels like I'm doing something productive, because I remember before I would constantly feel like anxious and stressed out while I was playing games. Like I couldn't even enjoy them, because it's like in the back of my mind I'm like, I could be doing something. Oh, I could be doing something. Oh, I could be doing something. And now I'm like, I'm enjoying the video game. I'm talking with somebody I really enjoy talking to, and I'm doing something in a way that's productive. I'm talking, reaching out. I'm pushing this out online and stuff like that. People can listen to it, and we could talk about some interesting stuff. And so like, I don't have that feeling anymore. I don't have that like anxiousness. It's just like, oh, I'm wasting time. You shouldn't be doing this, And I just, when you said that, you're like, oh, I can't sit here playing video games all the damn time. Like it kind of made me think of that too. Like, I don't miss doing that at all anymore. Like I don't miss spending all day playing video games, because honestly, there wasn't a lot of purpose to it. It was just more of just passing the time away.
Yeah, it's exactly what how I was feeling. Especially because after a while, I was literally, I felt like I was doing it just because there was nothing else to do. When there obviously was, but like in my mind, you know, I was thinking like, oh well, you know, I kind of don't really want to do anything else, so this is gonna fill that void or whatever. But I mean, now it's a little bit different because, you know, I'm trying to spend a lot more time, you know, looking for jobs and doing the stuff I have to do. I got back on my bike recently, which I was super happy to do because I don't know if you remember, but when we were at school, I think when I got my first job, one of the first things I did after saving up a little bit of money was I went and bought a bike, like not a motorcycle, like a cycling bike, and it cost me somewhere like $2,000, which is ridiculous, a ridiculous amount of money. But I was super excited about it. I thought, oh, this is gonna motivate me to like go out and do this stuff, because I did like riding my bike when I was a kid. So I was like, oh, you know, I kind of want to relive that and do more of that, you know, be active and all that. And I literally used it for like a couple months, and then it just sat there in dust for forever. And I'd take it out every like, you know, I don't know, 4 months for like a short ride, and then like come back home exhausted because I'm not used to being, you know, that active or whatever.
And you're still doing that now?
Yeah. I've been trying to do it every day for like at least like 30 minutes. So if I have to go to the grocery store, I have like 2 bikes now. I have like a cheaper one, and I'll take the cheaper one out so I don't have to feel like super, what's it called, anxious about leaving it chained up, because the other one I definitely don't want to do that. But yeah, I've been doing that, trying to stay like motivated in a way of like making a habit out of it, you know, even if it's just for like a little bit. And it's been nice. It's been nice, even though it's been super hot lately.
Yeah, no, I run 2 miles every day too, so I totally get that. I just earlier today I ran, and like, I don't know, I feel like once you start balancing. Wait, give me a second. D1, what are you doing? Like, you're just spamming the chat with a bunch of words. Come on, man. Get into the conversation. But yeah, I totally get that. But I feel like the temperature and everything, you kind of get used to it. I don't know. I feel like lately, especially, I've noticed that, you know, keeping myself hydrated and stuff like that definitely helps with the temperature, whether it's both cold or hot. Like during even the cold times, like just making sure I'm hydrated, the temperature doesn't bother me as much. I don't know if you ever had that experience.
Something similar. So I've always had water with me for the most part, but one thing that I noticed is because cycling isn't as intensive as like running, for example, or most other sports. One thing I was talking to, what was it? I think I forget his name, but this guy at a bike shop. I was asking him about like some of the nutritional stuff they had. I was just like, oh, you know, like I've never really used that stuff, you know. And I was telling him about this ride I had where I went like 30 miles and I was dead. I was exhausted. I know 30 miles sounds like a lot, but in comparison, I'd say it's probably comparable to like 2 miles maybe running. Yeah, it was horrible. It was I felt like I hit like a wall, you know, and I couldn't, like, I was struggling so hard to keep going. And he was like, oh, you know, well, like, do you bring water? I was like, yeah, you know, like I make sure I bring enough. I usually bring like a big bottle, you know, because I know I'm gonna need it. But I still feel like this horrible like feeling or whatever. And at first I thought it was because maybe like my seat, maybe my position, my posture, etc. Because all those things kind of can factor into certain things. And he was telling me how, like, you know, your body, you know, uses up a lot of energy when you're going on these long rides. Even if it's not intense, you're going for a really a length of time and a certain distance, right? So you have to replenish those things, like I think he said, like every 45 minutes. And this was specific to like road biking and stuff.
Yeah, this is definitely
So-
true. I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm starting to try to do that. And he said one huge tip he gave me was like, all right, like before you start, your ride or whatever, have like a PB&J, have
Yeah.
like something, before
Banana.
you go.
Just a little bit of carbs just to get that glucose going, because you're gonna deplete the glucose really quick. Definitely.
Yeah, that's been super helpful. I'm hoping to make it to the beach one day, by the way. That's like my
Dude,
goal.
I would love to
can
go
make
with
it to
you
the beach.
sometime if you want.
That would be sick. Do you have a bike?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I'm so down. There is literally nobody out here that will bike with me. I've been trying to get my parents to get into it because family member, his family, like his whole family bikes, and they go like every like weekend or whatever. And I'm like so jealous. I was like, I wish my family did that. Like, it's not that, it's not that hard. Again, I said it's not intensive, so you're not gonna like.
I mean, a lot of things
super out of
aren't
breath.
hard in a sense, but it's just developing that habit. Like, people have to believe in themselves. Like, oh yeah, I can do that. That's fine. Yeah, I totally get that though. I've been wanting my family to do a lot of stuff with me too, but they're always in their own little world. Which is cool. Doing their
Yeah.
thing.
Everyone's got their own schedule, things they want to get done or
Yeah.
whatever.
All right, man. I'm glad you've been picking up those habits. I feel like I know a lot of bad things have happened during the pandemic and stuff like that. But I mean, you gotta also think a lot of bad things have been happening a lot throughout, like every year, every day, There's always bad things happening, but there's always plenty of good things. And at the end of the day, who are you in control of? Who are you in control of, Jose?
Yourself.
That's what I want to hear. So at the end of the day, you can make your day great at least, You don't have to worry, It's not that you don't care about all the bad things that are happening in the world, but it's just that you're not letting them get to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been difficult. Or at least it was difficult for a while. Because I'm sure you probably experienced this as well, just like going either on social media or just watching the news or reading the news or whatever, and just seeing like just the plethora of things that are going on or have been going on for a while that maybe we weren't aware of or whatever. Stuff like that's just like, man, the world is messed up.
Well, actually, I'm reading a book right now that kind of was going over everything that happened in the past few years, and then even like the whole 2000s. And I don't know, I don't get that feeling anymore. And I think it's attributed to like what my friend said, that like I'm just the kind of person that doesn't like, when it comes to world stuff, I don't really let it get to me. I think the biggest thing that got to me was watching that one documentary, the Seaspiracy, and it was just like talking about how they're like killing dolphins and whales and stuff, and just like grinding them up, and I don't know, just like all this terrible stuff, and like how we're just messing up the ocean, and I'm just like, God, that sucks. Like, why are we doing this? Oh, I went the wrong way. Whoops.
Yeah, for a while I thought it was because I was feeling kind of helpless. Like, what could I do about this situation?
No, I totally feel that. Yeah, that's how I felt when I was watching the documentary. But at the same time, I'm just like, you know what? I just have to do what I can. Yeah, I can't change the world or anything at this moment, but maybe eventually. And if not, I did my best. At the end of the day, it's all you can do.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just cruising by these guys.
Yeah, I don't fight them anymore. Whoa, why did I go the other way for? What happened? I like saw that giant skeleton thing, and I was like, I'm just gonna go the other way. Ah!
The art in this game is really nice.
Oh yeah, that's really nice. Chicken Man, what's up? Hey man, if you get
Heck
lazy
yeah.
while up on a wall, push into and cling on tight. I don't like the word lazy. Maybe I'm just tired. There's a difference.
Maybe just being efficient.
Yeah. You think the elephants are repopulating? That's good.
I think the post I saw, it was like earlier on the pandemic when there was like they're doing what's it called, the closures and everything, especially New York. And someone posted a picture of like Timberland boots on the subway like platform, and they're like, the Timbs are coming out, nature's healing. Like that's the nature of New York
Oh
City
my
or
God.
something.
That's hilarious, though.
Oh. What else you got for me?
All right. Well, actually, there was something I was gonna explain, and I kind of like got sidetracked. What I was gonna say was I have been reading a book on all that like stuff happening with the world, and it's called Decoding the World by Poe Branson and Arvind Gupta. And there's these two scientists that were pretty much like dealing with all that stuff. They have like a lot of startup companies, and they fund a lot of startup companies, a lot of like biotech startup companies and everything. And they pretty much have like touched base on a lot of those like science fields and everything. And even today, I read a really good chapter where they're talking about memory and how they've actually had studies where like people that were struck by lightning had this sudden like urge to, they had this sudden ability to start memorizing a bunch of stuff. And what they found is that that electricity, you know, that kind of like supplies the brain to work faster. And it's just this weird thing. Like the lightning thing is not really the most important part. Like, that's just like a little trivia. Like, oh, it's very interesting. We're not too sure yet why that happens, but it's a very interesting thing. But the thing I thought was really cool was they were talking about how us getting to this ability to memorize stuff and like process information, and how we're not like animals where, you know, most animals are kind of just like, your memory is like limited to like this. When you feel hungry, this neuron activates. When you're feeling tired, this neuron activates. You know, like when you're feeling threatened, this neuron activates. It's just like simple like that. But with humans, it's just like when you're feeling tired, you know, these 10,000 neurons activate, and you start thinking about life and like, why is this going on? What am I doing with myself? Like all this crazy stuff. Like it's just like talking about how we create those processes, and pretty much what happens is that our brains are constantly growing neurons and getting rid of them using these I think they call them glial cells. And so that's why memories are constantly coming and going, is that sometimes they get stronger, sometimes they don't. You also have things like myelin sheath that is also all this is like, you know, supplied by the food we eat and everything. It like strengthens those connections and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, okay guys, I'm not a scientist, so you know, you need to do your own research on this, but this is just what the information I've gathered so far. I just find it interesting that pretty much our memories and stuff like that are like this little network that whenever we gather new information and new processes, they kind of rub against those ones we have already. And like, you know, if we can hook onto things that are familiar, we'll pretty much attach that new memory and memorize it. Otherwise, they'll just kind of like pass by, but they'll just kind of eventually get taken away. They'll go eaten. That's what they call it, eaten by these glial cells. I don't know. At the end of the day, I thought that was fantastic. But like I said, that book is crazy because they're talking about a lot of the stuff that's been happening, like how the bees have been going, you know, extinct. How we've been like doing a lot of studies in space. There's all types of stuff, you know, like the fact that the world does kind of suck, but at the same time, it's fantastic. Because at the end of the day, that's up to us to kind of figure out, right? Oh!
Never thought of it that way.
Like I've always pushed this, but I don't necessarily believe in good or bad. Like, when it comes to outside of my own perspective. Because yes, I have my own perspective of good and bad. I have my morals, what I believe in, what I think is good and bad. And colloquially, as a society, we have our, you know, our ideas of what's good and bad. But at the end of the day, good and bad don't exist. You know, when we're approached with a new concept or a new idea, we can't, you know, it's up to us to be like, slap that baby with the good, slap that baby with the bad. You know, like, at the end of the day, that technically doesn't exist. It's just to help us figure out, you know, what to avoid and what not to avoid. But sometimes we mess up. We're not perfect. You know, we put those labels on those things according to whatever we feel is good or bad. But at the end of the day, you know, some of those labels that we put on those things, like which is good or bad, can be maladaptive. It's just like people who get in relationships, right? They get with somebody, they're like, oh, this person's so attractive. You know, I really like being with this person, but they can be like totally bad for them. But in their head, they're just like, yeah, this is a good person for me, you know? Like, at the end of the day, you know, I mean, you see it all the time, too, in the government and stuff like that. Everyone's creating these laws and stuff like that, and we're like, oh, yeah, this is good for us. And then other people are like, no, this is bad for us. At the end of the day, it's not a real thing. But you know, we do our best to sort those things out. You know, we try to do, like, at the end of the day, how I feel is just I try to do the best I can for everybody. You know, I try to make decisions that are best for everybody. But you can't help everybody, you know, because there's so many different opinions. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to all that, like, you know, like, oh, the world is going through a lot of shit and everything. It's like, yeah, it is, but there's also a lot of good shit going too. But yeah. Oh, I mean, right now.
About the good stuff.
Yeah, right now, I guess you can say there's not really that much of balance because we are letting the world kind of go to crap because, you know, our actions are really strong on the world. But even in the greatest darkness, we have to hold on to a little bit of light because there's no point in sitting in the dark. You know, light that damn candle if you have to. You got shit to do.
Trying to sleep.
You got shit to. Yeah, well, you're trying to sleep, but there's no time to sleep right now. Yeah, you wait for those times when you're sleeping, but when you're awake, you better light them damn lights.
Yeah, I'll think about that next time I'm reading a really shitty article.
Pretty much. Just like, come on, man. Why you guys being all negative? Yeah, let's see your stuff. But I hope everyone in the chat's doing great. Holy crap, that guy has such a huge freaking head. So I wanted to ask you, what are your current goals right now?
Current goals.
What are you aiming for?
Get a job. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I've been thinking about. Because I was one of the things I was kind of using to.
See, this guy has it right here. Wait. This guy knows what's up. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Get your sleep. Get your sleep. Very important. But continue. Sorry, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, no, you're good. Why is his head so big?
I don't know. This is what happens when you don't sleep, guys. Your head gets really big.
Yeah. So basic goals, obviously, you know, I want to move out of my parents' house because I want to stop feeling like I'm a burden and all that. I want to get not a new car, but like a car that's newer than the one I have.
You know, can we talk about that really quick though? You feel like a burden to them?
It's just, you know, it I know I'm not, right? But it stems from the way I kind of like my experience growing up, not necessarily of like things affecting me, but the way I interpreted the things that happened to me, right? So when I was in school, I didn't per on paper, I was not a good student, right? Always D's, F's, sometimes B's, you know. I didn't do very good in math, I didn't do very good in English, etc., etc., etc. And growing up that way, you know, my parents viewed school as a sort of determining factor of how you were going to do in your adulthood, right? That whether you'd be successful or not, because to them, in their eyes, in this country, you had to be good at school to be successful, you know, in a career.
So I guess my question would be when you're saying that I'm a burden and everything, who's saying that?
It's me. It's not my parents. I know I've talked to my mom about this before. It's a little hard to shake off, you know, think of it as an old habit per se. But I've talked to her about it. I've been like, you know, like, especially when she asks me, you know, how my job search is going, and you know, I tell her like, you know, I haven't really heard anything back, or maybe I have, or you know, they told me they aren't going to move forward, etc. You know, I've brought up that fact that I feel like that's, you know, what I need to be doing because I feel like a burden. And you know, she's told me in the past before, and I can't shake it just because, you know, it's like one of those things where like if you've had this feeling most of your life, someone saying like, oh, don't feel that way isn't gonna make you obviously,
no, of course not.
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah. You know. So
I like this song,
it's something.
by the way.
It's something I've been working on, you know. Obviously, I'm still working through it. But yeah, you know, it's one of those things where because of that, because I feel like, you know, there's sort of this haunting image of like, oh, I should have been able to go to this school, I should have been able to be a lawyer or a doctor,
Shoulda,
or
coulda,
those
woulda.
those typical like, oh, this, if you're one of these things, you're going to be successful in life, kind of things. Like I couldn't be an artist or anything else.
You ever looked into distorted thinking?
No, I have not. I don't think I've
There's-
ever even heard of that.
There's a book by God, what is his name? I'm forgetting the name. There's a doctor though. But the book's called Just Feeling Good, and it's a little book. Then they talk about distorted thinking, and that's one of the distorted thoughts. Pretty much, these are like thoughts that have no basis in reality, in a sense. And of course, we have our feelings. We have, a lot of the times they stem from childhood, like traumas and ways that we were raised and stuff, and coping mechanisms, things like that, all that Freudian goodness. But like one of them is that shoulding, like using words like should, I could have done this, I ought to do this, this is the thing I need to do. It's like, no, you don't have to do any of that. Like, you do what you can, you do your best,
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, no, it's just, it's always been something I've kind of struggled with and whatnot. But obviously, hearing this stuff, talking about it's helpful. It is. I've had these conversations with my sister, with my dad, with my girlfriend as well. Because it's one of those things that, like, I think because of, maybe not necessarily but because of that, it's another thing that I kind of struggle with in like my career. And even like my freelance stuff, I always beat myself up about everything. If I mess up, if I don't feel like I did a great job, I always think like I could have done better. I could have done this. Like I should have, I was not on time. Blah blah blah. It's like those things haunt me till like 3 a.m. in the morning. They don't let me sleep.
Do you have an evidence list?
I've done something. I'm assuming something similar to that. What's it called? Someone recommended to me that if I ever have these like nights where I can't sleep and I'm constantly thinking about like all these things that are making me anxious, that I should write down a list of all the things that are making me anxious, why I think they're making me feel anxious, and what I could do about that tomorrow. So if it's like, oh, I feel like I'm not going to be able to finish this project on time or whatever, and that's making me feel this way or that way. Okay, so tomorrow, let's schedule our time. Let's figure out like, okay, what it is that I need to do to get it done. And I know how long some things might take. It's like, okay, I feel like I can get this done in this amount of time, but maybe it'll take me longer, and kind of block that time out, and figure it out that way. And if I absolutely need to, you let my boss know, like, hey, I've been working on this, it's taking me a little longer, blah, blah. There's always like solutions, right? I gotta think about solutions. The solution thinking is usually what helps me go to bed.
I feel like I like that, but at the same time I feel like it shouldn't be about the solutions. It should be about the dissolution. So instead of solving things, you should be dissolving things, in a sense, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't be having to come up with a solution all the time. Sorry, I'm trying to fight it also. Like,
no, you're good. I was about to say go on, but I was like, oh, he's fighting some stuff right now.
But what I'm trying to say, I guess, is like figure out ways to kind of be at peace with yourself. What if these things don't happen? What if you don't finish your project on time? What if you don't get the job you want? What if you don't, get with the girl you want to be? Are you gonna be okay still? Yes, I will be okay still. Life will still go on. And that's what I mean, like, to me, that's what helps me sleep at night. Like, I don't think about, oh man, what if this thing doesn't happen? Well, I have a plan. I'm gonna do this, and this is, yes, that helps. But then I also ask myself, well, what if that doesn't happen? Well, I'll move on. I'll be okay. I'll figure out another way.
Advocate.
Yeah. Because there's a thing that Navy SEALs do. I know they do it before every mission. They call it WHOOP. And it's a wish, outcome, obstacle, and planning. And pretty much is that they wish for something like, okay, our goal is we want to, accomplish this mission without any, trouble or anything. We're gonna do this, and that's the outcome as well. They say like, okay, we wanna finish this mission. What's the outcome? Well, we hope that nobody gets hurt. We accomplish it without any like problems. Everything's good. What's the obstacle? Well, there might be these things that happen. Somebody might get hurt. What are all the possible things that might happen? Let's think about all the possible bad things that could happen. Everything can fall to crap. We might have to leave the mission and not accomplish it at all. Okay, how we're gonna plan around that? Like that's their thinking is wish, outcome, obstacle, plan. And I feel like you could do that with anything though, in a sense. Like at the end of the day, it's like you can plan to just be like, I'm gonna be fine. I'll move on. Heck, I mean, you can wish for you can think of the worst obstacle ever. Like somehow there's a freak accident, kills your entire family, and all this crazy stuff. Like you have nothing, all your money's taken away, and you're now a hobo on the street, and you have to just be like, you know what? I'm gonna have to learn to make this work. Because at the end of the day, I mean, that's what being human's all about is surviving. You
called it dissolution.
Disillusion.
Disillusion.
I can't
Yeah,
get
I never thought about that.
Yeah, I heard it from Sadhguru, who's an Indian mystic. I don't really care for all the spiritual, like, all the stuff. I'm more of a science-based person, but I like the things he says. Like when he said that, he's just like, why are you guys always trying to solve everything? Like, start dissolving these things. Like, you don't have to have a solution to everything. You just need to be at peace with yourself.
Like, okay, alien invasion. How do we solve that? I don't know, man. I think we're pretty screwed.
Oops, went too early.
Oh, I thought you made that.
Nah, I went way too early. Oh wait.
Yeah, as far as goals, I mean, I really do want to. I guess what my real goal is I want to learn. I have a really hard time, kind of learning by myself. And one of the things I've always like, if like right now, there's a lot of things I haven't been able to do. Like, I haven't been able to do eye tracking testing in terms of UX. I haven't been able to work with large sets of data. I don't have that experience, so I haven't learned how to deal with those things. And I want to, but at the moment, it's really hard to try to learn how to do those things without like having access to those things, right? So there's, in my mind anyway, there's no way I could possibly come up with like a large set of data that I could solve, a problem for. So let's say a website, that has high foot traffic. They're trying to convert, certain people from the landing page to this specific other sale page, let's say. And they're trying to figure out, maybe is this pop-up working? Like, should we, do something else? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the thing they're trying to solve. I don't have the experience of getting that, figuring out why it's a problem, figuring out how people are interacting or not interacting with it, and then solving for that. Like, I don't have that kind of experience. Most of my experience comes from, like, heuristic evaluations and stuff like that. Stuff that doesn't involve, having to test with large groups. It's all
heuristic evaluation. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Can you go into, I love heuristics, so like, can you go into more detail with that?
Yeah, so it's it comes, I mean, everyone kind of has their own what's it called? Everyone has their own list of heuristics. But the main one that everyone, or at least it seems most people get it from, well, most UX people get it from, are the Nielsen and Norman group. So they're, I'd say a business. I wouldn't say an organization, because they do actually sell, or not sell, but they have like courses you can take that you pay money for. So it's a business. And Nielsen and Norman. So it's Jacob Nielsen and Nielsen. What's the other guy's name? Oh, I should really know.
We're sorry,
Donald?
other guy.
Yeah, other guy. They're two hugely influential UX persons, and they came up with a list of 10 They call them usability heuristics that are specifically for user interface design. So what someone will do when they're doing a heuristic evaluation is not only do you have to know these heuristics, but you have to understand like what the goal of figuring out if whatever it is you're looking at, meets the purpose of that specific heuristic. So you'll go down. It's a list of 10. It's what's it called? The visibility of system status, the match between the system and the real world, the user control and freedom, consistency and standards, error prevention, etc. Like there's just a bunch of stuff that you kind of go through.
I was gonna say, could you explain what heuristics are to people maybe in the chat that don't know what heuristics
are?
Just like a quick summary.
Yeah, so essentially in this particular case, think of it as almost not necessarily a checklist, but almost like a checklist that is helpful for taking this approach of problem solving. So you have a set of things that you're looking for that help you understand, like, hey, at the end of the day, whatever you're making, you're making it for a human being to be able to go through and navigate, or however they have to interact with this thing that you're making. And there are certain core things that you have to understand in order for someone to be able to use something. Like one key example would be, like we were talking about earlier, everyone's had different experiences, everyone has different cultures and different ways they perceive things. That immediately like reflects onto people when they're using something, using any type of software or anything like that. If someone sees an X, right, you could say for the most part, most people will assume, right, their assumptions, that if they click on the X, that it'll close whatever it is that's open.
Yeah.
Right?
So at the end of the day, heuristics are just like those shortcuts that our brain takes, right? Like we already assume this thing's gonna be this thing. And understanding understanding of people's knowledge of design and stuff like that. Like you said with the X. Okay, yeah.
You're really good at explaining that. Yeah, no, exactly.
No, I've actually heard of heuristic, because when you said heuristic, design, I was just like immediately, it made me think of heuristics in psychology, because I read a book on memory and the human brain and how it works, and they had a whole chapter on heuristics. And they just explain heuristics being this thing where our brain just tends to take shortcuts because we want to be efficient. Our brain doesn't want to use more energy than it needs to, so it's going to take those mental shortcuts. So like your example is perfect. Like, when we see an X, our brain automatically goes, hey, that means to close that thing because we've already dealt with that a bunch of times. It's what racism comes from. Like, I'm sorry to say, but it's what racism comes from. It's heuristics. It's literally you've had a bad experience with a certain race or a group of people, and your brain automatically goes, well, or you heard something bad, somebody told you this thing, and your brain just says, I'll take note of that, put that as a bookmark. Like, that's just what your brain does. Like, and so if you don't put in that time to actually step away from that unconscious like approach to things, like your brain will just take over and be like, all right, we're taking a mental shortcut. We'll use that heuristic to approach that thing. And so that's what I think is very interesting when you said with design and heuristics, is it is the same thing. We are, in a sense, heuristics are everywhere. Even with video games, I mean, you see certain colors trigger certain things. Like, you see red, you're like, oh, that's probably an enemy, that's probably health. Your brain starts going through a list of things that it's used to. It's already, been programmed to do. I don't know if you ever read or looked at the book of by Robert Greene called The Laws of Human Nature. He talks about 18 human laws, and they're pretty much heuristics. And like one of the first ones, the law of irrationality, where like we tend to like think of some, and we can go into more on this, but like just pretty much straightforward is we tend to make up lies to defend something we don't really understand at all. And you can say they had a really good example in the book where they talked about Bitcoin and how like people will all jump out on Bitcoin because everyone else is making money. But if you ask them, why are you doing it? They wouldn't say, oh, because everyone else is doing it, which is another actually heuristic called the law of conformity. They would just be like, well, it just looks like it's doing really good. I mean, if you look at the numbers, it looks like it's going up, it's just like, but you don't, I'm sure you don't freaking know what the hell is going on with that. If somebody says, I really don't know, I'm just kind of doing it because everyone else is doing it, at least they're on the right track. They're sort of understanding that they don't know, that thing. But you know how a lot of people will do that? They'll be like, oh yeah, this totally this. Like, that's why even when I'm explaining things, I'm always going to be like, hey, look, I'm not an expert. I don't have a degree in any of this, but it's just the things I've read. I'm not going to say that, like, I totally know all this stuff. I know everything behind it. I was a scientist, researching this. No, I didn't do any of that. So, but yeah, heuristics, everybody. Heuristics are mental shortcuts our brain does to accomplish things with the most amount of efficiency. And it can be really maladaptive sometimes because it was really helpful in nature, but in our modern society, we can easily be taken advantage of, and it's unfortunate. But continue. I want to hear some more of that heuristical design stuff because that's really cool.
Yeah, so like you said, it's shortcuts. And my job, one of my jobs anyway, is to know those shortcuts that people take. And how that can influence somebody and how someone perceives a certain design or whatnot. And ultimately, my job is twofold, right? One, it's to help people do what they got to do, whatever it is they're after. If they're on your website to shop for something, my job is to make sure that that process goes as smoothly as possible. The other side of things is also for the business itself, because obviously, at the end of the day, who's the one making money? It's the business, right? It's to mend those things, right? The things that are helping people, and how do we also make sure that that's helping the company? So obviously, in the case of e-commerce, it's pretty easy, right? You're helping the person shop for whatever they need to shop for. You got to make that as easy as possible, and if you do that, that'll make it so that they'll come back, and they're more willing to come back and spend more. So one key thing that I always kind of think about is how if you have a bad experience with a restaurant, for example, the odds of you going back to that restaurant, especially more regularly or what have you, or like a shorter time frame, is usually very low, right? Unless you've been there for a while, or you've gone to that place, you have sort of more familiarity with that place. You might forgive some hiccups, right? They mess up your order, blah blah blah. Oh, it's all fine. I like them. I go there all the time, etc. And again, that's kind of goes back to how people think and what how they perceive something. So in this case, that's familiarity, right? But if it's someone's first time, it's their first experience, and it's a bad one, even something as small as my eggs didn't come out how I wanted it, or what have you, those things can affect how people think, and also how people act, what things people do. They might not come back to your business. Maybe next time they might come back, but they might not be so willing to tip, or they might even go as far as to writing a review online, or they might go home, someone might call them and they might talk about their experience and let their friend know that, hey, I didn't really like this place. They did this, or they did that, or they didn't do this.
Yeah, and that goes back to the whole racism thing I was saying. It can be spread by word, it can be spread by, experience, it can be spread by a lot of things, and your brain it bookmarks it. It goes oh, that's how we feel about that thing, and I'm just gonna jump straight to that memory whenever I come across that thing.
And on the other hand, there are some things I also avoid. There are these things called dark patterns in UX, and as they just the way they sound, they don't sound good, because they're not. It's essentially when you use UX for the sole purpose of tricking people into doing things. So there's a difference when you let somebody know that there's a sale, versus you have someone click on something thinking that it'll take them somewhere else, but instead it takes them to the sale page. That necessarily doesn't sound as bad, but when you think about it, maybe that person wasn't necessarily in the market for whatever it is you're selling. Maybe they were after something else, and now they're here, and they're not here because they want to be here. They're here because they were tricked into being here. And there are many other examples and stuff like that of things like that, but those are definitely things that we want to avoid. And there are some dark patterns inherently that weren't dark, at least when we first looked at them. Maybe when they were first created, I'm not sure. For
well,
example,
and you know,
how
the word dark is heuristical in itself, you know? So, yeah, it's good. Alright, go ahead.
like the like button on Instagram, on you know, the retweet counter, all that stuff, right? It doesn't sound bad inherently. You're like, oh yeah, you know, it's just to let you know like how many people liked it. It's kind of cool, you know, that many people like this thing. It also lets somebody know that their post is doing well because a lot of people are looking at it or whatever. But the fact that that's like such a key part of both of those like social media platforms, and how someone will assume that something is doing well or something is good, right? It's based on those counters. It's based on knowing that number and seeing that number go up. And it's become a problem nowadays. At least we're seeing it that way now, is that, hey, you know, some people are you know, kind of going to this dark hole of like, I need this thing to be liked and reblogged and retweeted and shared with as many people as possible, and I need that number to go up because then that'll make me feel like I'm worth it, that I'm doing good, that whatever it is I posted, whether it's a selfie or something I made, that it is a good thing. You know, they need that validation. And that is not, you know, it's not a good thing in some cases these days. Like for me, when I post something, I don't really care. You know, I post it. I really just am looking to see if like the people that usually like my stuff, you know, thought it was cool, and I was like, okay, cool. There's still a little bit of that there, right? But it's not, you know, it's not any kind of, there's no self-destructiveness, you know, or anything bad that I'd see about that. I'm not sitting there checking my phone every 5 seconds, you know, or if no one likes it, I'm not like, oh man, like I really did not make a good post. Like I just, you know, if I pull out my phone and it tells me, oh hey, 2 people liked it, I'm like, cool. You know, it kind of ends there, right? But for some people, like, no, it's their, almost their, for some people it is their livelihood, right? Because they have like brand sponsorships or something like that. But for younger people specifically, it's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, UX design.
No, dude, that's
it's good,
that's
I swear.
crazy. No, that's crazy. I mean, we're affected by it every day, so it's totally good to know about. And I'm glad, like I said, I'm glad I was able to relate to something with the heuristics and everything. That's really cool. But I know I had to do a little bit of studying on design and everything. I never really got too deep into it, so it's great to have, you know, somebody. I don't know, how do you feel about that? You know, like because I was gonna say, like, having somebody in my friend group that does know that stuff, because, you know, it's great to have a little bit of everything. Friends who are really good at everything, because, you know, together we can all accomplish something amazing. Let me see if we can get this guy. But I was gonna say, you know how they said, I was reading a book and they were saying not to use the word networking because it really kind of removes the emotion behind it. Because, you know, yeah, even though I make it sound like I'm just using people, like, oh yeah, it's good to have somebody who's good in graphic design, it's good to have somebody who's good at music, good to have somebody who's good at animation, things like that. So, you know, we can help each other. But, like, at the same time, like, those relationships are still there. Like, I still enjoy hanging out with you. I don't, you know, like hanging out with you just because you're a graphic designer. Like, no, just like I mentioned earlier, I like your passion, I like your energy. You know, you're something that I feel like motivates me, like, oh, let's do this shit. And I want to be that person too. Whenever I'm around somebody, you know, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I'm just the guy that, you know, does streams and does writing and everything. I'm like, no, I want to be that guy that pumps you up, you know, pumps you up, just gets you going. Let's go. Like, let's get motivated. Let's get some stuff done. And whatever else I can bring.
Yeah, it reminds me of this old video. Well, who's it called? Balloon something? Like this really old channel. They did like a skit where they're like, let's pump this up. And they were like, something about going to like an Aerosmith concert. I forget what the bit was about. But it was really dumb. And it just reminded me of that. I gotta send you that later. But yeah, no, I don't feel like networking's a bad word. You know? I see it more as like, you have a friend group that, you know, is very diverse, and you know people, and you like to know about what kind of people, what things people are into and what they do. You know, it's nice to have. I think, in my experience anyway, and just my preferences, I think diversity in all its forms is great because I kind of see I don't know, this might be kind of mean, but I see like those groups of people where like all they do is like one specific thing, and that is all they do. Their entire friend group is just this one thing. So like the people that all they do, they live and breathe Disneyland, for example.
Yeah.
You know, or they live and breathe like raves or those types of events. Like it's cool that you're having fun. That's sick, but I would be bored as hell if all my friends did the exact same thing.
Yup.
Like you know, not all my friends play video games, you know? Not all my friends do specific things in arts, you know? Everybody's got like different stuff, you know? And I think it's cool that you can like, you know, pass on business to other people that you know are good at something. I think it's cool to be like I know we're going back to the solution thing, but it's nice to have that, right, as a solution. Like you meet someone and you're like, hey, I know a guy who does photos, like let me give you his number, you guys can talk and see if it might work out for you, that kind of thing. That feels really nice.
Yeah. And to go off of that thing you said, you know, I don't want to making solutions a like negative, like having a negative connotation or anything. What I want to say is just sometimes you can Gordian knot it, you know, like you can look outside, you know, the usual ideal of solutions, and sometimes you can just be like, you know what, I don't have to solve this, I could just, you know, be okay. But it doesn't mean that you can't look for solutions. And again, to the Gordian knot thing, like sometimes you just gotta look outside the box, and in a way, I guess you could say dissolving it is another form of a solution, because at the end of the day, it is a solution. It's just another solution.
Yeah.
And it's just a Gordian knot. You're just like saying, you know, you're fighting with this knot, just like Alexander the Great. And you're just like, God damn thing won't freaking untie. Fuck this! I'm pulling out my sword. Fuck it! Just cut this shit in half. You know, sometimes you just gotta do that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, it's funny the way you're thinking about that right now. How like you know, not everything works for everybody. You know, sometimes you got to do this. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. UX design is like a huge part of like that. That is a huge part of UX. So oftentimes, and it sounds really annoying to a lot of people, especially people trying to find an answer, right, a solution. They'll go online. They'll ask some designer like, oh, like, what do you think about like what do you think would be a good solution for this? You know, they'll say like something generic, like, oh, you know, like my website's not getting a whole lot of traffic. What do you think would be a good solution? And oftentimes, and this is like a thing for like every UX designer will say this, and it's true. The one line that we almost always say is, it depends. So the reason why that's huge is like, there's no, even when you have like, you know, every possible detail of a problem, right? Everything. You have all the statistics, the you know, online data, everything, right? You've talked to people. It will always depend, right? And even then, you'll still have more than one solution. There almost always will be more than one solution. And you get a different designer to work on the same exact problem, they'll come up with something almost entirely different, or maybe, you know, just a slight deviation from, you never know. It always depends, and it's always like so varied and stuff. And that's like one of the great one of the companies that I recently applied to, that was like kind of their philosophy, and that's why one of the reasons why I gravitated towards them was that they viewed you know, problem solving in a diverse mindset. You know, not just the fact that they have like a diverse team or whatever, but you got to think about, you know, the diversity of you know, all the different cultures and all the different thinking styles that people have. Because again, people think completely differently, and so you got to take those things into account. And you know, it just kind of reminds me of how you know, I was saying like, oh, you know, let's like go back to the same thing, and you're like, wait, well, actually, you know, in some cases, you know, it's not bad, like, you know,
yeah,
gotta have an open mind.
Yeah, I had something and I like totally forgot. I don't know why.
That's all my ramblings. I'm sorry.
No, it was good. I was gonna actually go off one of those things you were saying, and then. Freaking D1. Oh no, Knuckles. Let me think really quick. Come on, Bring Blast. Let's go. Jimmy Neutron, come on! Somebody. You hear that? Oh no, you don't hear that. Never mind.
I'm in the room with you or something.
No, it's in the game. There's like a weird noise in the background. And I'm just like, oh, never mind. If it comes to me, I guess I'll.
Yeah.
No. Can you restate what you were saying again? Maybe it might just like a quick summary of what you were just saying recently. Maybe it might.
So in my field of work.
Oh, I just remember.
Yeah,
what it
go
was.
ahead.
I was gonna say like that idea of whole you have multiple solutions and everything, and you said that it depends, right? Like that word contributed to it depends. Oh my god, why do they have to give me all this right when I'm trying to explain myself? Holy shit! What is this? I need to go super luchador. Alright, let me just beat their asses really quick.
Do they have shields?
Yeah, I have to break their shields with certain moves now. They're still beating my ass. I have to wait my stamina recharge. Can you do the move? God. I was gonna say though, when it comes to anything, there's always multiple solutions, right? You know, it's just it's hard for some people to let go of certain things. Like sometimes you have to move on. From projects or people and all types of stuff, and sometimes people are always trying to figure out a solution, and again it kind of goes to the dissolve thing. People are like, oh, how can I oh, shoot, this thing. Oh, how can I solve this issue? You know, I feel like some people ask themselves, and sometimes the solution is just literally just let it go. I died. God, that's a hard part.
Hey, you're keep holding out on it there.
Yeah, I was, but I started wanting to talk, and then I myself died. But yeah, you know what I mean? Sometimes it depends. Again, like you said, it depends. Sometimes the solution is just to dissolve it. Sometimes you can think of a solvent. It just depends.
It reminds me of you know how I was telling you I got back, or I was getting into Star Citizen, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very I like to think of it as the type of, at least the way it is right now, is the type of game that you need a hell of a lot of patience for. Because you'll be doing something and then the server might crash or blah blah blah, and it's the it's the equivalent of if you had to walk to the nearest supermarket and somehow you got teleported right back to your house, you had to walk again. It's just an awful feeling. And I know this, and a lot of people who played for a while know this too. But the type of people I really don't like playing with on there are the type of people that won't let go of a solution. So there was one time I remember in particular, it happened recently. This guy really wanted to spawn this really large ship because he had it or whatever. And for this mission that did not need it, right? Yeah, it was overkill for sure. Did not need it. But because he had to spawn such a huge thing, it took time to get to it, get inside, turn it on, do this whole thing.
I'm gonna grab a book really quick because you just reminded me of something, and I'm it's
Yeah,
driving me crazy because there's actually a word, or I guess a saying, about that type of thinking. But continue your story.
Yeah. And even after that, he was like, oh, I really want to get this ground vehicle in the bay or whatever. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay, sure. And then it blew up, and then it blew up the ship, and he had to reclaim it, this whole thing. And we were there for 2 hours, not starting this mission. And I was like, can we look, we don't need it. We don't need this. Just get in a couple fighters and let's just go do this thing or whatever. And he refused to do it. He's just like, no, just give me 5 more minutes. I'll get in. And it's you don't need this. You just, we're going to be here all day.
Yeah, it's, so there's a word, I think it's German. So it says related to these difficulties in math and science, because the book I'm reading from is called A Mind for Numbers by Barbara Oakley, a terrific book, not terrible book, sorry, a terrific book, awesome, has a lot of cool insight on if you're afraid of math or science, she pretty much shows you how you can be somebody who's never been in math or science and really get into it. But there's a part in the very beginning where she talks about the Einstalling effect. In this phenomenon, an idea you already have in mind or your simple initial thought prevents a better idea or solution from being found. And pretty much they use a reference of a pinball machine, Like, let me see if I can find a picture too. This thing in the previous chapter. So like in the pinball machine, they say like when you create memories and you synthesize stuff, like you're pretty much bouncing information on your neurons and your synapses. You're trying to figure out what can grab onto. Remember I was talking about that like tree of memories and stuff like that, right? You can say they're all little like little pegs of like for like in a pinball machine where the ball will come down. So you can say the ball is like the information you're taking in, right? This new information that you have nothing no, like just new information that you have not grasped before or anything. It's just coming in, and it starts bouncing on all these memories that you have, and you're trying to like look around, like you're trying to think, think about, okay, how can I connect this to something I already know? And it starts bouncing around all those memories and trying to grasp onto one of them at least. And the stalling effect is pretty much like it hits like one of those pegs, and your brain goes, that one, we're doing that one, and you're just so attached to that idea that you won't even like fathom the idea that you can probably bounce it on some other things and create a new idea. Again, that Gordian knot thing, like let go of that solution that you thought was possible and try to figure out something else. Maybe just let it go. Maybe just fall through. Maybe let it fall through and get a new ball. Get a new ball going. Your pinball little analogy there. But yeah, you made me think of that. Sorry, I was just like, oh, stalling effect. That guy totally was doing that. But,
yeah, that's excellent. I might check that book out later. Because I've suffered from that in the past, where like as soon as a client like tells me about something or like a project or whatever, like I immediately start thinking about solutions, and then I'm like stuck on that one, the first one, and your first ones are hardly ever your best ones too.
What the?
Can he do it?
For some reason the move doesn't go off sometimes. I think this game was designed around the controller, and so it's a lot harder to pull off the moves.
Can he do it, ladies and gentlemen?
I gotta get rid of these guys first. Woo! Woo.
God, these boss dudes are so cool.
Those are just regular enemies.
Mini boss?
Sort of. They come out a lot.
At least in this scenario.
I think they're regular enemies, but they're just like big guys just to kind of intimidate you.
The princess is in another castle.
Ibophobia is a fear of words read the same forward and backward. God damn it. Juan, it's my girlfriend. I've come to rescue my girl. No, actually we haven't actually agreed on that. She's really into me, and I just, I'm already saving her life, so I mean, I'm guessing we're going on a date right after this, But I shouldn't assume that. Oh, she's crying because she thought I was dead. Not so fast. Uh-oh. Oh, luchador. Like an orphan cabbage, you roll straight into my trap. An orphan cabbage? I don't get it.
I don't either.
I don't understand that reference. But yeah, we're making progress on this game at least. I'm happy about that. Because I was afraid that I'm actually proud of myself. Again, this is not to like push my ego. It's more just to kind of like remind me that I'm doing good. That I've been able to push through the story mode while also having a conversation with you and reading the chat and also keeping track of these questions and stuff like that. But yeah, let's continue this. What pushed you towards the graphic design field? Like what got you really into that? Any like old memories and things like that, if you don't mind talking. Hey, speaking of old memories, thinking about being a kid.
Oh, yeah, you could say I was pushed actually into it.
Oh, really?
So I didn't start like drawing or doing anything creative until like 7th or 8th grade, I'd say, somewhere around there. It was the first time I'd seen anybody draw anything, and like I was like impressed. And it was one of my close friends at the time. He drew like a almost like a steampunk city. He's just drawing like in the middle of like recess or whatever it was, lunch maybe.
Mm.
And I thought that was so cool that you could take like something like a pencil that we'd use for like, tests and like, writing essays or whatever we were doing at the time, and make something really cool. And I really wanted to do that. And I've actually kept my first ever drawing. I've kept over the years. But yeah, for a while, it was just kind of like, doodling, drawing, being really bad at school. And then once I got into high school, I didn't even know you could take art at all in high school. I didn't know until like junior year, I think it was. Or was it sophomore year? No, I think it was sophomore year. Is it freshman, junior, sophomore, senior? No. Which way does it go? Anyway,
it's
the third to last
freshman.
year.
Yeah, it's freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior.
There you go. Junior year then.
You know what sophomore means?
No clue.
It means a wise fool.
Wow.
Just like in the word sophisticated, which means wise. The sophist is somebody who speaks wisely, but they usually use it as a negative connotation to mean somebody who's just talking like wise, but doesn't really like actually have any substance or experience with that.
That's mean.
And more is like moron. So sophomore is a wise fool. So it's like their second year and they think they know it all already. That's what that word is for.
But yeah, I didn't know you could take art. I would have taken it freshman year if I knew that was a thing.
Same.
So I took art. I did. I felt like I did okay. Like I did pretty good. But I actually got like a D in that class. I think it was because like towards the end or something, I had to switch teachers for some reason. I don't know if it's because my other teacher had to like take leave or something like that. But that teacher seemed really chill. But I guess they took their what's it called? Their grading more seriously than I thought. So I think that's what killed me in the end. But anyway, yeah. So from there, I did take like a graphic design class, but all we did was like learn a little bit about Illustrator at the time. So that didn't really catch my attention too much then. And yeah, just at the end of high school, I didn't have any plans or anything. I had no like, oh, I'm gonna apply to these schools. Nothing. No clue what I was gonna do with my life. Yeah, one of the like AI called because somebody from an old friend from school who had graduated before I recommended me to that school, and they were like, yeah, like they'd seen your drawings, blah blah blah, and I was just like, oh, like yeah, sure, I'll check it out. I had literally no other plans, so I'll go for it. And yeah, when I went there, my original plan was to do video game art. Because I thought like, oh, I love video games, like that's what I should be doing. But I was like, I am not good at drawing people. I am not good at anatomy. I like make like these cute little characters. I doodle, like that's what I do. I can draw like several little characters over and over again. But I could not like do like what they expected of you in video game art, or what they expected of you in animation. And so that just like frightened the heck out of me. I didn't do good like the first year or so, like first 6 months I think I was in that program before someone literally was like, you should do graphic design. Like I was just in the lounge one day and someone was like looking at what I was drawing, and they're like, oh, you'd be really good at it, like you should do graphic design. And I was just like, really? And they're like, yeah. And I don't for the life of me remember if I even took the time to think about it. But all I remember is going to like upstairs to the office or whatever and being like, oh yeah, I want to change my majors to graphic design. I don't even know if I took the time to contemplate it, whether it was a good idea or not. And I just switched my major like that. And yeah, it was great. It was, maybe not the best experience I'd say as far as learning. That definitely was hard. But I felt good.
We were talking about this on Monday. Somebody else that was from our institute as well, and we kind of talked about how like we don't think it's a good idea to like straight from I can be super chicken now. Straight from high school to go straight into college unless you decided on something yourself. Because I feel like that was for me as well, is that like people were just like, oh, you should do this, you should do this. It's like, well, I'm not sure yet if I want to do that. And it's like, now, like, after graduating, like, cool, I got my bachelor's degree, whatever, but like, it's not what I wanted to do at all. I realize that now.
Yeah, it caught my mom off guard too when I said I wanted to go to AI in the first place. Because
really?
she said later, like years later, she told me she thought I'd go into like culinary because I always loved food as a kid. Or even a food critic or something like along those lines. Because she told me how much I liked food or whatever, and how like I was always really into food, and like whenever she was cooking, I was always curious about how things worked and stuff like that. And I was just like, well, I don't know. That would have been nice to know earlier, I guess. Who knows? I could have been a chef, or I could have, owned a restaurant. I don't know. So many possibilities. I mean, I still could, I'm still young.
That is true.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to go back to school. That's for sure.
You definitely
I am done
want
with that.
Oh, you're done
No, I
with
definitely
okay.
would. I guess I wouldn't completely rule that out, but it'd have to be like way later, I feel like I'd be more prepared for it, or prepared for the cost, really.
Yeah, that's true. I know I'm getting my master's, and like, I know I'm gonna have to do a little bit of paint, and not as much as when I got my bachelor's, but. There's like a thing you can do.
Wild? With the chicken?
Yeah, where you can like float in the air while transforming into the chicken, and it like allows you to fly in the air. I don't know how to do it.
Is there anything else you can transform into?
No, I think it's just that right now. I haven't seen anything.
Maybe you have to hold the jump button or something.
Like cactuses or skeleton hands in the spirit world.
Ugh. Beaming. Purple rain.
Hope everyone's been enjoying themselves today. Hope you're enjoying yourself, Jose.
Yeah.
Hey!
Good.
What is his name?
That's good.
What is
Strong
his name
bad.
again? Strong Bad. There you go.
Strong bad. Fuerte malo. Strong bad. I love that it's like a direct translation.
Fuerte
Oh my
malo.
goodness. That's so cool.
Yeah, they have a lot of references. Just saying, one of the bosses we killed, he's like chasing us, and at the very end we grab an axe and it destroys the bridge, and he falls into the lava.
Nice.
Like Super Mario Brothers.
The classic move.
Yeah. And then all the upgrades you get are from those Chozo statues, just like in Metroid. I'm a chicken like you guys. Look it.
Do they only run away from you if you're a chicken? Oh no.
Oh man, those evil skeletons give me the creeps. They were created by Kalaka. They're messing up nature's balance. I don't know if this is natural anymore. So since you're a big design guy, what's your favorite color and why? What does it make you feel?
Green is my favorite color. In design, though, oftentimes it is not.
That is true. That is true. I love the color green in like real life, like clothes and stuff like that. But like even then, like even in clothes, sometimes I like to wear pink or purple. And like in design, I like the purple. That's why my existential gamers, everything is like purple and pink, because I just kind of like that style.
Yeah, it's curious how that like changes or how that differs. But yeah, I love green. Green's my favorite color. It's the color of nature. It's the color of money. It's the color of emeralds. It's just a nice color. It's not too harsh on the eyes. It usually denotes some type of good thing, right? Like growth or whatever. However much you might believe in what's it called, the color psychology or whatever. It's funny. There was a classmate of mine in a General Assembly where I was studying UX, where like he went off when we started talking about color psychology a little bit, because that type of course you were supposed to kind of cover a lot of design stuff. Along with UX design. So for me, it was all on, yeah, I heard it before. Just let me take the quiz and get on to the next thing. But he, because we had like a student chat, that was just for students. and he went off and he was linking articles. He was like, this is dumb. Like color psychology is ridiculous because like even in different cultures, colors mean different things. So like how can you like blanket statement green means this, white means this, etc. Like it's dumb and blah blah blah. And I was just like, I mean, go off, but like, in some respects, it's not I don't think it's a problem to think about that kind of thing. It'd be good to like explore how different cultures
Yeah.
view different colors and keep that in mind when you're designing.
Like, he has a point, but at the same time, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that colloquially there's a psychology behind everything.
Yeah.
You know, culturally, you can say every culture has its own psychology behind it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's a good thing to think about those things. So in design, I'm often, almost always using yellows, blues, and what was it? What's the color I'm thinking of? Yeah, I'm a designer and I have to look this up.
Hey.
Yeah, teal.
You don't have to be perfect.
But like a light teal. Yeah. I'm often drawn to those kinds of colors. I don't know why. I think yellow is just because it's like sunshine and it's bright and it's like it can be fun, especially because if you add a little bit more red into it, right? Not quite like yellow orange, but like you get a little bit closer to there. You get out like a little bit something more unique, because oftentimes what you see online, like Snapchat and stuff, it's like yellow, like a bright yellow, which can be pretty harsh on the eyes. And the teal's just nice. You don't see it everywhere all the time. You see a lot of blues because of tech companies and whatnot, but you don't see teal all that often. And it's nice. It's calming. It might make you think of the dentist, though, so.
Sure. It's true. Teal and white.
Yeah.
Ah!
Kind of looking at this water right now.
That's nice. What do you think of the color theory in this game?
I'm thinking about it. It's definitely interesting, because I'm wondering now, like thinking about these blocks, like what are the differences between the green ones and the red ones?
Well, it just means what power you need to use. Oh!
Ah. Because it almost would make me think, because of the vines, how like that kills you. It might make me think that the blocks would kill you too, even though they're not as bright.
And the vines are glowing, so, and they kind of have a more like, because it's not even just about color, right? It's also about
yeah,
the feeling it gives you, because like they're thorns, they're a vine, like all that stuff.
The shapes are different.
Oh my god.
A lot about it is different. Yeah. No, but I like it. It's nice. A lot of the what's it called? The palette that they use for all the different areas and stuff is really cool. Like I like this underground, vibe they kind of have, with like the purples and stuff.
You know what I'm gonna do?
When
I do my reviews, I'm just gonna send you like a snapshot of each game that I played, and I just wanted to give you like a one sentence like yeah, this is what it makes me feel, is how. I wouldn't do that, but.
In one sentence?
Yeah. You better make it count. I'm just kidding. Oh no! That one. What's down here? It's a El Chupacabra. Oh, that's something fun we could talk about. I don't have that on the list, but like, do you have any ghost stories? Anything you want to talk about? I personally don't believe in ghosts, but.
I do not either.
But you had any like experiences where your mind played tricks on you? let's be serious.
Yes. I think it was at a time when what's it called? This when my family was, my family still is, but I'm not religious. So I was religious at a time, and I guess at the time I was like really like focused on this whole like feeling like some of the things that I was doing were really bad. To the point where like, oh, the devil's gonna come after me or something. And I remember one night specifically where I was trying to sleep and I had the covers pulled over my head. I guess it maybe have been cold that day or something. And I felt this sudden dread that something dark was staring at me from the other side of my room. Again, I was under the covers. I couldn't see anything, right? Like clearly. So I had no way of knowing whether something was actually there or not. And I felt that for maybe something like 5 minutes. Where like I was so afraid. Like think the freaking xenomorph is standing like right in the same room you are, and you're like in a closet, right? Like the feeling of dread, right? And you're just like, I could die at any moment. This thing could come out and be terrifying and rip me to shreds. That's the kind of feeling I was feeling. And I don't know, like I felt at that time that like maybe it was a ghost, maybe something was haunting me, but I don't believe in ghosts. So I was just like, that's dumb. Like, I don't know, maybe it was my brain like hyperfixating on this like fear, and like that's what manifested this in my brain. But that freaked me out for sure.
Brain is powerful, that's for sure.
Yeah. But no, I don't have any like real ghost stories. I don't believe in ghosts. I have a hard time believing that ghosts exist. I have an easier time believing aliens exist. Because I'm like, hey, the probability that we could exist here, there might be a chance that something else could exist somewhere else. Might look completely different, but
yeah, and the only reason like there's we haven't seen a lot of that is because I mean, look what it took to make our thing a reality. You know, like us to have life on our planet. It's not that it's impossible. It's just that everything's so spaced out. Like that's why they call it space.
Yeah, I was watching this other.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying really quick. I wanted to show like I don't know if you played this game before. It's called VVVVVV. There's a little reference in the back in the picture.
Little guys. Little, because that's how you. Yeah.
They go up and down.
I forget. Does the character and like the environment changes color, right, in that game?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yes.
I never played it myself, but I do remember watching who's it? Michael from Achievement Hunter play it once, and he did like, I don't know if you've ever heard of like Rooster Teeth and them on YouTube.
Yeah,
but
I've seen this stuff.
Yeah, Red versus Blue and all that. Yeah, I remember him doing like a rage quit for that, and it was really funny. It's definitely the type of game I don't see myself playing. Like the type that frustrates you, you know. You beat it?
Yeah, because I had it on the 3DS, and I just played the hell out of it when I was.
You were something else, Michael.
It was back then when I used to just play nothing but games. Like I just wouldn't do anything.
Video
like
game
I had
overload.
good times. I had good times, but now I'm. You can say they gave me some meta skills. Now I can just passively play video games while having a conversation with you, and you know, I get to enjoy both worlds.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, anyway, so I remember watching something where people were talking about how recently, at least within like the last year or something, someone, or like a group of some people, or scientists or something, or mathematicians, I forget, I don't know, smart people, they basically created like this equation that kind of was going over the probability of humanity existing, of like life existing on our planet. And basically you couldn't think about it in terms of like, okay, if it's possible here, it should be possible somewhere else. It was more like, what would it take, like what are the odds that it would be impossible for here? And if that impossibility was too high, then the likelihood that it's probable somewhere else would be very low. Because I guess when it comes to probability, like you can only go so far, like 1 in a trillion, you know, type of thing. Like the odds of that, like even though that the odds do still exist, the fact that the vastness of how like the likelihood or the unlikelihood is so vast that the probability is like less credible or something like that. So I guess they took the approach of like figuring out how improbable it is and taking how vast that is and figuring out, okay, is this number too vast, you know, to where the probability doesn't make sense, or you know, it's too far for us to ever even think of imagining seeing life anywhere else. And that just, I don't know, my brain was trying so hard to understand what they were talking about.
Some crazy stuff. This girl is hitting on me. What should I do? Jose, I'll let you decide. Should I give in to her embrace or should I reject her?
Heck no. What about the other lady? That's not her, right? Doesn't she look like the thing, the one that was like, earlier?
Yeah, that's her.
Oh. Absolutely
But
not.
her boyfriend is treating her like crap, so now she's trying to hit on me.
Nah. Still her boyfriend. Still her boyfriend. What the heck? Nah, dump him
You
first,
could
then
do-
cheat, then hit on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now you have to fight.
How do you even pronounce that? It's like an Aztec name, huh? Xtabi? Shitabi? Shitabi. Shibupi. Shibupi.
The X names always confuse the heck out of me.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do here.
Be like Montezuma. That's pretty easy to pronounce.
Oh, you just beat her up. That's all you do. Oh, I got hit by that. Oh, I missed.
What are the invisible platform looking thing right there?
Oh, I think when the world switches, I can jump on that. But right now we're in the dead
It's funny
world.
that they bother even showing it.
Just to let you know that when you switch worlds, it's there.
Oh, it's like an indicator.
Ah, come on. I'm already low on health. Oh, shouldn't have. Oh, that's why. Can I get?
Ouch.
No.
It'd be funny if she fell into the spikes also.
I died. I kept getting hit so many times. She said soon I'll be her slave and then she can have real fun. She's gonna rape me, man. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Wrong direction. I was actually watching a video on like why people get into abusive relationships and stuff. That's some pretty cool stuff.
Cool.
I know it doesn't sound cool, but it's just like, to me it was just like, I see. It's just we're familiar with
I do that.
yeah, pretty much.
I remember watching like Spanish soap operas and like thinking like, oh my gosh, just get away from him, kill him, like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think those often play on that. Like there's almost always like a character that's in some type of relationship that's just like, get out of there. And sometimes it's a guy.
Yeah.
You know, he has a kid with some lady, and then she turns out to be really mean and evil and like tricked him into having a kid or something. And it's like, just take the kid and leave. I don't know. Lady's crazy.
I was not expecting that.
And hey, she can take a hit.
Well, she's like a goddess or whatever.
You're a shapeshifter.
You're right! Chicken powers! Oh.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Changing into the chicken might help dodge
Smaller hitbox.
attacks, huh?
What skulls? I don't see no skulls. Oh, those skulls. Oh, they have shields now.
Ooh.
Ooh, I missed.
Whoa. Okay, now this is a boss.
Ah! At least I got a checkpoint. Uh-oh. Oh.
I was gonna say there are two of them.
She's crazy. She's causing her own pain.
What happens when you turn red?
It means that I'm out of energy, so I can't do any super moves. Okay. Oh, I should have turned chicken move. Oh my god, do the damn move.
reflexes.
Oh! Oh!
How did you not get hit that time?
I did the dash. I mean, the dodge.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it didn't work. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Oh, it didn't count though. What? I gotta lean in now. There's too much going on here. Oh my god.
That's how you know it's getting real.
Oh, thank god, health. You can punch them to... Oh, get...
Oh, so how'd you defeat the goddess? Oh, I punched her a couple times.
Oh my god, this move's so freaking stupid to activate. Ooh! Bitch. Almost dead, she almost dead. Oh. Oh! Oh, I underestimated you. I will spare your life. Oh, get out of here, girl. Spare my life. You know, Carlos wasn't always such a bad guy. He was once handsome and brave, not unlike you. Maybe you'd like to hear his story. Nah, I'm good. No, we're gonna hear the story. Before he became Calaca. Oh, I skipped it accidentally. I was trying to see if I could go through the dialogue. Whoops. Well, that sucks. I really wanted to, I deserve better than Calaca, and someone needs to stop his sorry ass. So, you're saying you're breaking up with him. Alright, so about that, offer you had earlier. That's gonna... we gotta go to the temple. She gave me the power to dimension swap.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Like, can you spam it?
If that nice Frey sing. Oh, yeah, you can.
Whoa.
Hey. Ho, 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 ho. Off. What's your favorite video game genre?
Favorite video game genre?
Tell me.
I mean, right now I'd say sci-fi, like sci-fi MMOs, but really it's almost always like fantasy RPG stuff. Not recently, but like the last 3 years I got into Dragon Age, and I'd never played that before in my life. And then I also got into Dragon's Dogma, which is another good one. And then obviously playing Skyrim for forever, even though I haven't played it in like a while. I always loved that stuff. I guess it was always about I always really liked the whole like the magic, and like there being like people with like who were attuned to magic, right? And there were all these creatures and stuff, and like how some of them were just like, you know, like very not evil, but like, you know, like dragons, like, yeah, if they see you they're just gonna eat you straight up, like they don't even ask questions. And then there's usually like some type of other what's it called, like group, like in spoilers, there's a certain group in Origins where you think they're really evil, but then they don't speak, you know, they're just these creatures, and then you end up being able to talk to them. They have their own society and everything. You're like, oh, my bad. But yeah, I really like those games. I've always been drawn to that stuff. You think I'd have played D&D a hell of a lot more, but I never really got into it when I was younger. So.
Are you you're playing it a lot now though?
I wouldn't say a lot. It's hard to get like a consistent group. I've done mostly one shots, so I don't have like that much experience. But yeah, it was fun though. A couple of times I did get to. I definitely would like to get into it again, but it's usually really hard to get a group of people to show up for more than like one, you know.
Yeah.
Which one shots are good, you know, they're fun, like a one night adventure.
It's very true.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot more creative, I'd say, with my characters. I think the first one I created was with, like the first type of character everyone creates. I'm a rogue, and both my parents died, and like, the same old backstory that everybody
Yeah.
does. Some
I was an
tragic thing, and then
orphan. I
yeah, and
grew
the
up
second
on the
time,
streets rough.
yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Uh,
sad.
And I think the second time I did the same damn thing again, except this time it was like, oh, I was traded to like slavers and like, grew up most of my life doing that.
Yeah.
And then the last couple times I did something a little more fun. I was just like, oh, like I'm a berserker. I can shapeshift. And then I literally just want to fight things. Like that's what I'm doing. I fight if I see something bigger than me and it's like a creature, like I'm a fight that because I gotta fight it. I gotta do it. And also afraid of spiders, and ran with like some old gang, with like some other character, which was really cool. I don't know, just like a more interesting backstory than like, oh, my parents are dead, or like, the love of my life left me, or I don't know, just any other tragic backstory. It's like, oh
Usual
yeah,
sad story.
I've heard that one before. Which
Yeah.
those can be cool too. Just
Oh my god.
it's funny that I played into the stereotype. I was like, oh dang, my bad.
Nothing wrong
I
with
thought
that.
I was more creative.
Nothing wrong with that at all.
Crazy beasties now.
I don't care where I need to go. The Ule tree. Ah! Going the right way.
The map UI is really confusing with like their choice of some of the icons. Cause like the art style is very like, oh yeah, Lucha and stuff, and like heavy use of like sharp angles and stuff, and then you go and it's like, oh, like the typical exit sign you see at a corporate building.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, what? I mean, it works. I guess it could be like, oh, like if you've ever been to like a lucha libre and like, they use exit signs too, so I guess that works in that.
Use exit sites. God. Hey, what's your favorite favorite Mexican dish?
Pozole.
Pozole? Really?
Pozole, yeah. Pozole is the
Hey,
best.
fly traps.
Every time I say I don't like menudo, like my family's like, "What's wrong with you?"
I don't like
even some of
menudo
my
either,
friends like,
actually. I actually like pozole over menudo.
I don't like atole. I don't like champurrado. Yeah, I like mole. I love pozole. Pozole is my favorite dish. Period. Like not even just Mexican dish, just favorite dish. Period. Someone makes, in my opinion, the best pozole ever. I've tried other people's. Not as good. But some people get close.
That's how it be sometimes,
Yeah, it's just a little different, but it's good.
Ah!
Yeah, I don't know what it is about it. Like it's like I refuse to eat like soup, on a hot day. But if my mom makes pozole, I'm eating it. I don't care if it's 100 degrees outside. Cause it's so like rich and like chunky, and you usually have like tostadas like alongside with it, and it's just it's so good. So good. And then the granos, the what's it called, the hominy in it. Oh, it's just like little fluffy pillows, but like they have this texture to them,
No Roof Access says menudo is his favorite. You guys gotta fight now.
It's always one or the other, I swear.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and I feel it. It's just for me. I don't know, man. I can't.
I agree that with pozole, I like that way more than menudo.
It's weird too. My mom said I used to love menudo when I was a kid. And I'm like, I cannot imagine that. I'm like, I have no idea who you're talking to, who you were talking to. That was not your son.
Alright, I'm out of money. I'm broke.
But I like the
Just
little
walk
skull
away.
things you're putting together. The
Yeah,
sugar
the
skulls.
whole theming of this game is really cool. Ah! Wait, what? Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, what's it called? Rufaxis is saying reminds me a lot of how people talk about the difference between people that love cats and like love dogs.
Uh-huh.
Like people that love cats are like still also love dogs. They just, still prefer cats. Whereas people who love dogs, a good chunk of the time, they hate cats. And
Uh-huh.
for me, I'm that type of person when it comes to like pozole. Like I love pozole, hate menudo. People who like menudo or love menudo also still like pozole. I don't know what it is.
Oh.
I think sometimes it also depends like where you have it, because I've had atole in what's it called? In like Guatemala, I think.
Mhm.
Or was it Mexico? I forget. But I've had it not here, and it was delicious. And I don't understand why it was delicious. Like my mom was like, "Try it," and I'm like, I hate this. Why would I try this?" She's like, "Just try it," and I'm like, oh, "I'm hungry." Okay, yeah, sure, whatever.
Which one's atole?
To be honest, I always look at them and they're like, I think champurrado's like more thick than atole. I don't remember which one was it. Yeah, okay. It was atole. It's the one that's made with corn, and then I think champurrado. Yeah, that one's the one made with the abuelita, the Mexican chocolate, and like cinnamon and stuff. And I don't like that just because I don't like Mexican chocolate. Rip, I know. Everyone always grills me on that one too. Cause like, how can you not like abuelita? You're not Mexican if you don't like abuelita. I'm like, calm down.
Okay, no true Scotsman. Let's go.
Yeah, same goes with coffee. My mom came back from Tijuana and she brought back this stuff called piloncillo, which is, yeah, super good. It's basically unrefined cane sugar in like these little cones, and they sell them here. You go to Cardenas or whatever, your local Hispanic supermarket, and they have it, but it tastes different coming straight from Mexico. And I remember going to Guatemala, and I'm not a coffee person. I never liked coffee, but that's all they drank over there because my grandpa and my grandma own a coffee farm. And I can drink that stuff like water. Like I am in the middle of like the desert and I haven't had water for days. I will drink that stuff like exactly like that. And I don't understand it. I never did, because it was like I would come back here and then try like go to the whether it's Starbucks or a local coffee shop, doesn't matter, and I'd get like the Guatemalan coffee bean or whatever they have, and it doesn't matter what they put in it, it does not taste the same, and it always tasted bitter to me. And that was one of the reasons why I was just like, every time someone's like, oh, let's go get a cup of coffee, I'll be like, I'll probably just get a tea, because it's different here and stuff. And I found out the reason why it was one of the main ingredients was not, you can't get here, or you can't get like at a coffee shop, and that's piloncillo, that raw cane sugar, because it has like this different flavor to it. It's more rich as a sugar, and it's really good. Although it does leave like a little, because it's unrefined, it does leave like little bits, kind of like how if you drink coffee and whatever filter they use doesn't filter out all the grinds, you'll still get like a little bit at the bottom. Same thing happens with this sugar. And this other thing I didn't even know existed. Over there they call it a Nescafe bean. But to us, Nescafe is a brand.
Yeah.
Right? And they just call it that. I don't know why. Maybe that's what the original plant's called or something. But it looks like a bean. Like if you were to take like a black bean or something, or a white bean really, and like make it super big, like as big as your thumb, that's what it looks like. But in English, it's called a velvet bean. And I didn't know this, that my grandma uses those beans. She'll roast one till it gets kind of like a nice caramel brown, grind it up with the coffee, and then make coffee with the piloncillo, with the raw cane sugar. And it is a whole different ball game when you do that. I was like, that's the missing ingredient. That's like what I was missing. And so now I'm like scouring the internet trying to find like where where in the world can I get these beans? Because I want to try this. I want to try making my grandma's coffee. I was like, you know what, this would be a game changer. I was like, I could open up a coffee shop and have this, and this be like a specialty. Because like nobody, it doesn't matter where you go or how much money you have, nobody sells coffee like this. And I was like, business idea.
They don't have the coffee shop anymore.
They never had a coffee shop. My grandma
said,
just makes coffee at home. No, they have a coffee farm. Sorry.
Ow.
Yeah, like the plant and all of that. They sell the coffee beans, and so they always have coffee on hand. That's all they. It's like it's either when you go to their house, it's either you have water or you have coffee. They don't even got lemonade. I couldn't live without having a lemon tree.
I don't understand what to do here.
Also, what's it called? Regular coffee bean, like the fruit on the outside, super good. If you ever happen to go to a coffee farm, like before they pluck it and roast it and do all that stuff, it's like sweet, but it's almost like a little candy you could have. It's pretty cool.
I've never been into coffee. I was more of a tea person.
Yeah, same. Yeah, there's a place in Claremont, I forget the name, but they do the whole blooming teas, where like it's like a ball and they put it in, and as it steeps, it like opens up, and there's usually like a flower inside or something. It looks really cool.
Huh. We gotta go. You gotta show me some of those places. I know you were inviting me to a lot of things before, but we never really got to go do any of that stuff. I'd love to do anything you got planned or something like that in the future. Oh.
Yeah, I'd be down. There's a place that someone recommended me, is a Pakistani a place. It's actually close by my house in Riverside, that someone recommended me. They're like, if you want to try like real Pakistani food, they're like, go here. And I'm like, that's literally down the street from my house practically. It's like a 12-minute drive at most. I was like, I can't believe it. You know, you live so close to certain things, but you never go out and like try to explore, you know? I always used to just go to LA because I was like, there's nothing good out here. Boy, was I wrong. Speaking of trying new things, I've been trying really hard to like get people to play, or like play with people on Star Citizen, the space game. But it's really hard trying to get like people that are on like regularly, because it's an alpha, so you know, not a lot of people, even though they might have invested in it, they don't necessarily invest their time. So I started playing I'm trying right now, started to play Final Fantasy, the online game, the MMO. And it's been like the same experience. Because like there's people playing, but like nobody really interacts like you do in other games, or you like usually can group up, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
man, dude, I'm bored of playing online games because there's nobody to play with.
It's I mean, I got people into World of Warcraft again. That was fun, but then like the content kind of fell off, and I kind of wanted to do other things. I kind of feel bad though. I know people wanted me to keep playing that with them.
I used to really like playing Terra. You'd ever played that one? I really loved the combat. I hated the art style. I didn't care for the story, but I loved the combat. And I still miss that, because even playing Final Fantasy now, I'm like, it's not the same. This is not as good. Because I think it was Black Desert. Black Desert Online had good combat, but again, like, because it didn't really have that much of an interesting story, like the character design was kind of cool, I guess. I kind of fell off of that one too. The grind.
It has been 2 hours, sir. So we are unfortunately out of time here. I actually had a few more questions, actually, but you were a great talker. I'm going to tell you that now. It's awesome. I would love to have you on again, because you just know how to keep it going. That's not anymore.
I don't know how to keep my mouth shut.
I'm the same way, dude. If I wasn't playing games, you saw me a couple times, I would stop playing the game and just be like, all right, let me explain this. Let's just keep going and going and going. But I do have to stop here because I got some things to do. And I'm sure I don't want to keep your time going as well. I'm sure time is important, everybody. I don't want to waste anybody's time, and I appreciate anybody who's spent the time listening to us and just watching if you were. All of you guys, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Join me tomorrow. I will be here who do I have tomorrow? My good friend Alex. I haven't talked to him in a long time. It's gonna be great. He's an animator, so he'll be cool to talk to about that kind of stuff too. But thank you, Jose. Do you have anything to say before we go?
Not much. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed my time here. It was cool. Thanks for inviting me to talk about stuff and really catch up, because this has been great for that specifically.
Yeah, definitely. It's been awesome.
And I'm gonna hold you to hanging out and riding bikes.
Yes, let's do it. I'm down.
Yeah, cool. We'll set up a time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
Hope everyone else has a wonderful day.
Awesome. All right, y'all. Take care. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.